Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. This is Rise and Shine and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. At the moment, we're being joined by our sister stations, Planet Radio 101.1 FM and Tangsio FM 102.7 FM, because once again, we're going to be having a scorecard-related conversation with the Commissioner for Transport in Akwa Ibom State. We're speaking about the person of Honorable Orman Esin. Of course, himself joined the Creative Artist Management LLC USA as a country coordinator in 2006 and was appointed as an associate director in the same company in 2007. Of course, he's a man who has a repertoire of several directorial accolades on his shoulder, and it's such a privilege to be sitting with him this morning. Good morning, Honorable Commissioner.
Good morning, guys.
Good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Honorable. Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable.
Yeah, so the people of Akwa Ibom are hearing your voice on Planet Radio and Tangsio FM this morning. You want to do a shout out to those on radio?
Yeah, shout out to Akwa Ibom people, and thank God we're here this morning. It's good to be here.
Okay.
I think they give you Anang, Orman, and all the other parts will
on Tangsio
language.
Wow.
Wow.
And then we go to the and say, we song.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking for the response. Well, it's a great day, and it's already 1 year in office for the executive governor of Akwa Ibom State. He had said sometime at the beginning when, he reconstituted his cabinet in terms of the commissioners, because he continued with most of you from the last administration. He had said that there would be a scorecard. Everybody will be measured by what they have done to know if they were going to continue. On an average, it would allow you to grade yourself. For the transport ministry, how would you say you have fared in the last 1 year before we begin to break down the conversation?
Basically, when it comes to grading, I'd like to always say that it's always best to allow the people to grade you. But you always put and give your best shot. You do your very best to provide service for your people. But when it comes to grading, I think that has to be from people. Yes,
okay. So from the very top, for me, I'd say that economically there's been a lot of challenges in terms of, commercial power. And one of the promises of even the state government was to provide CNG buses. We know that even at the national level, it's not yet happened. But for the Akwa Ibom story, how have we been able to subsidize or mitigate transportation hurdle for the people of Akwa Ibom? Let's start from that basic.
Well, when we talk about the CNG operations, it's important to consider the fact that you can't be talking about, conversion from, fuel or diesel to CNG without talking about having a CNG, station, or plant. So we can't be discussing that until we are set to have a plant. And of course, His Excellency the Governor is putting in place, things, to ensure that we have a plant in Akwa Ibom State, and then that can enhance, conversion of vehicles from fuel to CNG, knowing fully well that there is availability of CNG. But right now, if you carry out the conversion, where will CNG come from? So that is ongoing. But in mitigating, the issues of how, people have suffered, when it comes to what happened with the fuel subsidy and all of that, recall that His Excellency at the time had given some form of rest to the transport, sector by saying that, okay, look, for over a period of time, about 6 months or thereabout, he said, okay, you guys can operate without paying, taxes whatsoever. And that was just to see what can be done.
Was it duly implemented?
It was duly implemented. But, what I think we're trying to do to ensure that there's sustainability in the transport sector, when it comes to, how the subsidy has affected the transporters, is that we're looking at the situation where, at the end of the day, we would be introducing electric vehicles. But, all of this is within the mid and long-term plan. All right, the short-term plan was to bring, the subsidy, in terms of taxes and all of that. But the mid and long-term plan is to put in place electric vehicles and eventually the CNG bus, which we are working on right now. So, but we have tried as much as possible to encourage the transporters on the need for them to be able to understand that, the workings of government is not an immediate thing. There has to be some timeline. We're working seriously and working very hard to ensure that, as I speak with you, we are negotiating with a company right now that is going to bring in almost about 1,000 electric kekes to the state to enable, the keke sector to be more functional.
Is there a possible time frame?
We're looking at maybe like it was 5-6 months from now, because right now we're at the stage of closing out on the transaction to be able to bring them in. So we believe that we're going to help out in ensuring that we bring rest and we bring support to the transporters and the operators in the transport sector. But we just want them to give government some time.
Okay. I love the idea of 1,000 kk, but my first concern would be the sustainability plan, like you rightly mentioned.
Yes.
That is where all of these resorts to. 1,000 kk be powered by electricity, and we all know the story around electricity in Nigeria generally. So, what is the sustainability plan to allow these owners, be able to sustain the tricycles?
What we're discussing with the investor right now is that they are the ones coming to set up the entire, system. All right. The responsibility of the owners of the keke will just be to get the keke. When it comes to recharging, it will be a complete setup by the investor. So, when I say complete setup, that means that from, provision of power to charging, the batteries will be the responsibility of the investor. So, of course, they put all of that into perspective to be sure that they can handle that aspect of it. But then again, you see, it's still much more, cheaper to run that operation than using fuel. Because, when you charge, what they will be doing basically is just to pay for charging just as you're buying fuel.
Okay.
All right, and that will be a lot cheaper for them. So we take up the full responsibility from the operator and put it on the investor. We set and ready to provide power for the operations.
Okay. Now, interventions like this, when it comes around, most especially from governments, there's always this impression, or there's always this opinion from the citizens that it's going to be bias or bypass. Is there any structure to those that will have access, and how transparent is this structure to those that will have access to these CNGs?
We're trying as much as possible to make it more of a private sector driven initiative.
Okay.
Because when it comes to, the number of kekes or operators we have in Akwa Ibom State, they're running to their thousands. Okay. But then again, we also work with union.
All right.
So there's an organized structure within the transport sector that enables us, operate or deal with the transport operators. So we are going to work first with the union and then trickle it down to the operators that probably will be the end users of what we're providing for them at the end of the day.
Okay, so another question now will be, when we bring an additional 1,000 electric tricycles into the state, won't we be looking at an overcrowding of tricycles alone? Like you rightly said, we already have them running into the thousands operating in the metropolis alone. Now, when we add an extra 1,000, what's the plan? Are we looking at decentralizing them into other local government areas of the state?
We're going to decentralize them.
Okay.
Definitely, we have to decentralize them.
All right.
Transportation can never be enough. It goes also in hand with the population as it increases. If you find out what happens, if you stand on maybe Ikodik Benin Road right now, all right, and you find out that there are still people standing waiting for, transport service, But what we need to do, I think the idea or the way to go is to organize the sector in a way and manner that will help enhance transport operations in the state. One of the things we're also doing is to ensure that we come up with an app, what we call the Vetmont app, that will enable both commuters and operators, run, the process, with ease without, basically, having a cash transaction. It's going to be a cashless transaction. That is also that's what we're also putting that in place. So you can decide to pay, put into your wallet a particular amount of money that will enable you, transport yourself throughout the week. So that process is ongoing. What we're doing is to make sure that we do not jump the gun. We take it, a step at a time. We're just, we for the commissioners, we're just about less than 1 year in office. And when it comes to the transport sector, it's something that you have to be there because it's people oriented. So it's something that you must be very careful, you must be intentional, you must be sure of what you're doing. And so the processes are quite tedious, and knowing fully well, too, that the people you're dealing with are not basically, a lot of them are not educated people. So you need to take time to be able to bring, information down to their level, and you should be able to harness them and organize them in such a way that whatever you put in place will succeed at the end of the day.
So this looks like really lovely initiatives that the Transport Ministry is already working on. But something just gets into my mind to find out, for your 1-year target as a ministry, what are some of the things that you had outlined for your ministry when you came into office under this particular administration to do? And, so far so good in the couple of months that you've worked, what are your achievement areas?
I think the most important thing in the transport sector for me, and which is also part of His Excellency's Arise agenda, is safety first. Safety itself is a consciousness. It's a consciousness in the minds of the operators, okay, and also the commuters. That's one. And safety is in two parts. Safety is in operations while you are, in the process of, going about, the business of transportation. And then on the other part, the safety of the commuters themselves that probably would board commercial vehicles to move from one point to another. And so for us, when we came in, what we needed to do was to look critically into the aspect of safety of lives, in Akwa Ibom when it comes to transportation. And so, like I said, we have a very close interface with the union that we're working with. We had to bring them to the round table and say, look, we need to understand that Akwa Ibom people come first, the commuters come first, and the lives of the people, even the operators, also is important to His Excellency the Governor of Akwa Ibom State. And so what that brings us to is that you need to organize the sector. You need to put things in place to ensure that people have the consciousness of safety, people obey, traffic rules, and keep our roads safe. We've had a lot of incidences of, people being involved in fatal accidents just by recklessness and some form of carelessness. Some months ago, His Excellency flagged off the roadworthiness testing operations in the state, service in the state. And what is that supposed to do to our people? Most times you're in your vehicle, even the private vehicle owners, you are not certain about the condition of that vehicle. Because most of the cases we have are occasioned by, not just by recklessness, but by the condition of the vehicle that you're driving. And so we went out on a campaign to let people know that your car, your vehicle must be roadworthy. Because it's one thing being careless over, ensuring that you put that car in a good condition, and having people that are innocent. When you get into a vehicle, just like when you get into when you're in a plane, the life of the passengers is dependent on the man right there at the steering. So it's important for the man to be mentally, alert. His mental health is important. So what we try to do is to educate them on the need for them to ensure that, first thing first, get your vehicle roadworthy to be sure that, okay, this car can move me from one point to another without, facing the challenges of probably getting spoiled or something going wrong. The next thing is the driver or the operator himself being mentally alert to be able to man. These are the little things we do not take seriously or we don't take into consideration, and these are very fundamental and critical aspects. Transportation is not just about vehicle. How many keke or buses do we want to bring in town? It's beyond that. It's about the lives of the people. It's about managing the sector in a way and manner that people, will be sure of their safety. It's very important. So we take that as one of the things we do. So what did we do? Ensure that we opened up a campaign structure for the people, for both the commuters and the operators, and we've been educating them on a daily basis. I go all out personally to talk to them. We try to train them, and then the officers we also have been trained to also on a daily basis communicate with them. It's quite a tedious thing to do because, like I said, the people you're dealing with here are people that sometimes you telling them today, look, you don't have to drink and drive. But even when you're driving, you see some of them park in some location, and what are they doing? They're drinking. So what do you do about that? So there's a whole lot we're doing. And then, not just that, what His Excellency has also done is to allow ministries interface with each other. We call it dependencies. So right as I speak, in my ministry, I have one of my dependencies, the Ministry of Internal Security. All right, we have that kind of collaboration.
Exactly.
Okay, to enable, so whatever I have, in terms of enforcement, I bring it to them, and they, they carry out that enforcement on my behalf. So there's a whole lot of, work that we're trying to do to ensure that we give a good orientation to the people, to the commuters, and to the operators, to enable them understand that safety is critical when it comes to the transport business. Beyond that, like you would say, what are we also trying to do is that in the Ministry of Transport, you're aware that it's not just land transportation. There's also the aspect of the marine transportation.
Yeah.
So it's a holistic approach. When we came into office, His Excellency, part of what we did during the dialogue, before His Excellency started off in his administration, was that we've been able to conquer the air, the land, and then the water was left. All right, His Excellency was very quick to attend to the needs of, the operations in our waterways. Okay. And what did he do? The first thing he did was when it comes to the aspect of the internal security, was to provide, gunboats that would enable, like I said, safety comes first. Safety is critical to allow, the operations of our fishermen in our waterways to be, done without the fear of being intimidated by militants and the rest of it. And then the next thing was, His Excellency went further to provide for Akwa Ibom people, which is ongoing now, it's under construction, the construction of a 24 meters ferry boat, passenger boat, a luxury passenger boat, that will be ready in a couple of months from now. And he had advanced a sum of 1 billion for the construction of the ferry boat, which is ongoing now at the naval shipyard in River State. Okay. So that is ongoing to ensure that, when it comes to water transportation, our people can also have the ease of transporting themselves from one point to another. So all of that put together is what we're trying to put together in this first year of His Excellency's administration in the transport sector.
Okay, so a lot of innovations that is coming on board, and this is your second coming to the Ministry of Transportation. So I'll take you down in Maryland a little bit. During your last tenure, you brought on board the VOI, the Vehicle Inspection Unit, and it was a huge thing. It had its goodness and its disadvantages. And then one of the things that Akwa Ibomites had concerns about when you announced again that we're going to be seeing those people back was the aspect that was in the negative. So, first question, are we going to be seeing them back on our streets? And if yes, what are the modalities put in place to ensure that we don't get to see those negatives, even if it happens, but reduced to the barest minimum?
Well, the operations of the VIO is constitutional, and we are all aware of that. And the question is, how are they going about their operations is what matters to me, all right? And then what are they expected to do as officers responsible for ensuring that, especially when it comes to roadworthiness. And we had back and forth when I announced that the VIO they were going to come up back on stream and all that. It is important that we have them back. Just like any officer of the law, maybe police officers, or you have the road safety, or you just name them. All right. Sometimes there are officers that probably do not do the right thing as expected. Okay. And so what have we done? We had to run them through a process of retraining. Okay, retraining. What is the responsibility of the vehicle inspection officers? They are the ones to issue out the roadworthiness certificates to vehicle users, okay? To ensure that your vehicle is now roadworthy. And they have to get the job done. It's constitutional. If they do not certify, that vehicle, it cannot be seen as, roadworthy. Okay, so the reason why they're coming back is to ensure that they carry out their functions as vehicle inspection officers. I want to douse the fear of people thinking that they are out here to harass or intimidate people. That's not the job of the road safety officer, the road vehicle inspection officers. No. That's not supposed to be their, what they do to people. Rather, they are supposed to educate the people on the need. So when you see them on the road, all right, they are not there to harass or intimidate people. What they are there to do is to educate you on the need for you to get your vehicle, to be roadworthy. All right. So that's that's the fear I want to douse. Not people thinking that having the road vehicle inspection officers, we are going to be intimidated, we are going to be harassed, they are going to put fees on us. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. They are there to, further educate our people. More like people that will carry out an enlightenment campaign to let the people know that there is need for you to carry out a roadworthiness test on your vehicles.
All right.
So
Okay.
The need is huge, and the task ahead is huge. And Akwa Ibom is opening up to a lot of investors and tourists coming in. And my next line of questions, still on the VOI, is this. Yes, you've talked about the fact that, VIO rather, is the fact that they're going to be enlightening Akwa Ibomites. Education is very important. But in the midst of this, let's say I have a vehicle, and as at the last time I went to VIO, it was certified. In the cost of running around, the vehicle has issues that probably as a person, I'm not a mechanic, I don't know about. And then I get to chance on a VOI officer, and then I'm told my car is not roadworthy. Are there punitive measures at that point, or are there processes that the driver or the car owner is given time? Go have this done, go have this fixed before the enforcement.
What they do is that they give you a time frame to go fix the vehicle. Okay, and then they give you a clearance note within the time frame for you to go fix the vehicle. And I think about 2 weeks or thereabout. So, and then that allows you, but the idea behind ensuring that your vehicle is roadworthy is about, like I said, is a self-realization. You're driving a vehicle. In as much as you enjoy the luxury of a vehicle, you should also understand the downside of it, that if something goes wrong, all of that luxury, you're going to lose it in a second.
Yeah.
So if you have that consciousness of the fact that there is need for me to ensure, like when you wake up in the morning, what do you do to your vehicle? The first thing you should do is to check if a few, smart checks you carry out before you get into your vehicle and drive. So it's not just enjoying the luxury of in the comfort of the vehicle that takes me from where I am to where I'm going to. It's about that I am going to get to my destination, and that movement is dependent on your ability to be conscious of the fact that this vehicle needs to be maintained. Okay, so that's the consciousness we are trying to drive down in the hearts and minds of the Akwa Ibom people, to make them understand that it's beyond just driving a vehicle, but more to making sure that you're safe and that your vehicle is well maintained.
We know that sometimes when we're having this conversation, some of the details might be skipping over people's heads. So when we keep hearing roadworthiness of your vehicle or even your tricycle, somebody will be wondering what exactly are these VIOs looking out for. And I think it's important for transporters and motorists to know what exactly the VIOs are looking out for, because just like you explained earlier, sometimes other people have other agenda in the middle of the assignment that they've been sent. So you find out that you're supposed to be doing this, but you're doing this and extorting money from people. So in terms of roadworthiness, what are we looking out for? Is engine, tires, this, just expatiate on that.
Usually when you go to carry out your roadworthiness test, there's a whole lot. They check a whole lot of things. The brakes, they check a whole. The car is made up of a whole lot of components. So what that test does for you is it's an automated system.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's an automated system. So you drive in there, and these checks are being carried out. And those things that it's just like you're being diagnosed. All right, you're not feeling well. You go to the lab and to run a test. You know exactly what medication am I going to offer for what the kind of illness or I feel. So when you move in, it's just like diagnosing the vehicle and identifying errors in the vehicle. And those errors are clearly marked out for the owner. and then you're now told to go and fix those, areas that probably might become, a problematic to your vehicle. So that's what it's all about. So there's a whole lot of components. But when your car is roadworthy, what that simply means is that all of those components are all intact, and then you're sure to be on the road.
All right.
So you meant just before that, so that the commissioner can finish that. Sometimes we have pictures and videos of these three-legged vehicles. A car is supposed to have 4 tires, but we see 3 legs, and then we see cars that are, they're not roadworthy. We're not even talking whether the state of your car. The car is supposed to be dismembered, right? We have some of those vehicles still on our road. Sometimes they are even offering transport services. Now, when the VIOs find these kinds of cars on our roads and these kinds of motorways, what exactly are they supposed to do? Is there an impounding process,
Yes.
for all of this kinds of things?
Yes, there's an impounding process. And the reason why I really plead with the Akwa people to allow the VIOs to do their job, most of those pictures you see, we really don't have much of them in Akwa Ibom State.
Okay.
I won't mention states here because that's not why we're here. But there are places where you see vehicles with 3 legs instead of 4. It happens, a whole lot of times. But in Akwa Ibom State, I think if we carry out a comparative analysis between Akwa Ibom State and other states when it comes to traffic operations, all right, you find that Akwa Ibom State is doing tremendously well, because we've been able to, as much as possible, and then thanks to His Excellency the Governor that has, provided good road network for, the people here in Akwa Ibom. So you can drive your vehicle, all right, in Akwa Ibom for a whole year, and you don't have a problem because there are not much potholes in the state. So when it comes, but it's true, you're smiling now, but that's true.
I don't think our smile is about not having a lot of potholes, because we know that there are potholes in some parts of the state.
See, you will not appreciate what you have until you visit other places.
Okay.
And I keep telling people, the Akwa Ibom people, that we should be grateful. We have been blessed with leadership, sustainable leadership in our state over time that has been able to put infrastructure in place that has helped, to place Akwa Ibom State where we are today. I can tell you, I've been to places, I've seen things. If you compare what we have in Akwa Ibom to some other places, you'll be thankful to God, and you say we are living in heaven. Well, I tell you the truth. So when it comes to that, what I think we should do is to encourage government to continue to do more, because the Akwa Ibom project will never end. It will move from generation to generation.
All right.
That's one fact. So when people are thinking that everything needs to be fixed in one day, or in 1 month, or in 1 season, or in 1 administration, sorry, we're not being fair to government. We're not being fair to ourselves. It's a continuous process. It can't end. I mean, the last time I checked, about 15 years ago, we're still constructing roads. In fact, 50 years ago, we're constructing roads in Nigeria. And 50 years ahead of us, there'll still be road construction. So this is what I think we should do, is look critically at what I'll call viable locations, commercial locations that probably would need attention, and call the government to pay attention to those locations, and that would help further, help government succeed in what they are doing. So I think we should commend, the government of Akwa Ibom State for what they're doing.
For what they're doing. Well, I know we have so many more questions that we are going to ask. One thing I'd like you to answer just before we, take a pause is in terms of maintenance, because yes, road construction is continuum, but there are roads that the pothole has been there. And we're not even saying reconstruct an entire road, just fix up the potholes and let's move. How efficiently is the transport ministry working with those directly involved to make sure that these things are fixed? Because it's part of transport service.
Yes, it is part of transport service, but more domiciled in the Ministry of Transport. But then I can take on that. I would always like to say that, for instance, His Excellency has come up with we have the Road Maintenance Agency in Akwa Ibom State. And of course, their responsibility, of course, is to ensure that they fix, potholes or roads that are probably dilapidating and then they're not doing well. So I've noticed that they've been doing that. All right. Recall, our state is a state of 31 local governments. It's quite large. It's quite huge. So when there are areas where people observe or notice also that this risk needs attention, I think when we come up, like this, it's important for us to list out those areas. Although we have, officers that have been going around, checking those areas and to ensure that attention is being given to those roads. But moving furthermore, I think everybody's involved. Government is all of us put together. It's a holistic thing. So when we have, probably we could just, get to the agency and call their attention to those roads, and I'm sure that they are going to fix it. But our responsibility in the Ministry of Transport is to ensure that the people, the road users, are safe, our roads are well organized in terms of usage, and the people, are well educated, to be self-conscious, to ensure that at all times they take full advantage of what the government has provided, and most importantly, the traffic situation on our roads is something that we pay close attention to as a ministry.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable. Now we'll take a quick short break, and when we come back, we're going to be opening up our phone lines for conversation. We'll be right back after this short timeout.
Rise and shine. Rise and shine. Rise and shine. Rise and shine.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, we are here on Spectrum TV, and we're also beaming live on all our platforms on Planet and also Thanks You. We've been having a conversation with the Honorable Commissioner of Transport, and he's here live in the studio. If you have listened to that or you watch that documentary, you know that there are a lot of issues he has raised and a lot of concern he has raised alongside transporters' ID card, cooperative unions, of which he said he's not aware of anyone. And I want to come from the union aspect. Honorable Commissioner, if towards the evening time, if you just take probably a ride to the you're on about, you see that the tricycles and the kekes, they're loading. At the end of every loading, you see some guys, young guys, collecting money from them, collecting money for those drivers that are loading. One will want to wonder, is it your office that sends those guys to pick up those money, or is it for the union, or is it for a cooperative? I would like you to clarify us on that particular activities that happen.
All right. The first thing is that we need to understand the operations of the union and how they interface with their members. They have what they call their check-up dues, all right, that they get from their members. But that has absolutely nothing to do with government. It is an internal, operation that is being carried out within the union and its members, and they go ahead and do so. So sometimes, if maybe you see some of them, maybe they are paying their checkup dues or something, that really is allowed, is what they're expected to do, and that's how they manage the welfare of members of the union. Now, as government, what they pay on a daily is their daily ticket, which is basically what they pay to government. And I also understand when you're talking about the people, some touts, within an area. Now, what I have come to observe is that, for every location where you have, these operators carry out their business and all of that, I would say you have the community people there, that come out and say, okay, look, we give you, it's more like a community PR that they do to them, which I have, because I've come to question it, to find out why are you getting money from people. Say, and when you go there, you see those young men say, so sometimes you just give them some little thing to just allow them do what they're doing. But that is not from the government. That is not from the ministry. All right, and for us, it's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. But I mean, it is. I think it's just what they do with the community to ensure that they just have a safe landing in terms of, you know, that relationship with that community and keeping them away from trouble and all of that. I think it's just a personal thing that they run.
Because most of the times you see most of the drivers, they struggle. They wouldn't even want to pay the money, and you see these guys trying to, you know, make start to fight.
No, we've had situations where drivers have, some few drivers have, you know, reported that to me, and I took it up very seriously. I took it up very seriously because it is not allowed, it's unacceptable, and that's not the right thing to do. So I want to urge any driver that probably has such experiences in any of the locations, please feel well to come to the ministry, to the annex, and drop that complaint, and we'll walk up to that place and then fix it.
Because some of the concerns, apart from just the discomfort that they cause sometimes, let's look at criminality on the roads as a result of some of these activities. Some of them may come out in the name of the community, but they're perpetrating harm.
Absolutely so.
Activities.
Absolutely, yes.
So how
absolutely.
is the transport ministry?
And what I've always told them, we have a desk. They all know the annex, the office, you know, because, you know, of course, we can't be everywhere at all times. So we allow for some level of cross-communication. All right. So when there are issues like that, and they know very well that when it comes to me, I respond. Except it doesn't, if it gets to me, I will respond. You know, because that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve the people. So whenever such reports come to me, definitely we respond and try to get to the location and find out exactly what's happening. We investigate the matter, and if it's something that we have to take it on, we do. Also, I had to share this with you that we also have a mobile court in the Ministry of, added to Ministry of Transport to manage transport-related issues, and that was approved to the ministry through the office of the state chief judge of the state. So that is functional now. So if we have such issues, we simply just move it to the mobile court, and then they have the mandate to be able to manage such matters.
So do we have a hope that, because we have some hot spots in Uyo, we know like the plaza
we
area.
have hot spots.
Yes, hot spots, yes. Like the plaza area around Uyo, people just know that once it gets to a certain time, you need to be extra careful.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I don't know, this experience where you're walking on the road and then someone just quickly walks up to you, Madam, give me this, give me this. So these are some of the issues that if somebody experiences, the mobile court is where they can go to talk.
Yes, exactly.
So even members of society
Yes.
who are experiencing this, what are some of the outlets where we can find the mobile court?
No, the mobile court is right now. So most times it's in the Ministry of Transport Annex.
Okay.
You know, but where there's a situation, they move it to the mobile court, or sometimes they even move to locations, depending on how, you know, comfortable they think it can be for them, and locations where we have more matters to handle. You know, so they are. But if you get to the Ministry of, if the complaint comes to the Ministry of Transport Annex, of course, there's always a standby mobile court to handle any of those issues that needs to be given attention.
Okay, so I'll go to security. Earlier, ID cards. We've had extensive bicycle being used, had instances of minibus being used, and the situation is one that needs. First question: what is the reception of the transporters to the introduction of ID cards?
Well, when it comes to reception and them complying to what government has put in place, it's part of what you saw me do, you know, in that clip, where I take the pains to go around, and it's quite tedious. I try to make sure I do this myself, because the truth about transporters is that the only person they really listen to is the commissioner. You know, when you get sometimes around and then you put men to enforce, before you know what's happening, there's crisis and all of that. Sometimes they want to hear you. So even when they hear you on radio, they still want to see you. So most times, like just last week, I went round again. What you're seeing there is something I do, you know, continuously, because you cannot just, it's not a one-off. You must continue to educate these people. Like I always say that, for instance, okay, I'll give you a typical example. I always say that it's always best to carry out what I call intelligent security, you know, than operational kind of security. Intelligent security means that, you know, moving, gather information, and then act before the crime is committed. But operational is that you see everybody with guns everywhere, you know, trying to now stop what has already taking place happened. So in the Ministry of Transport, what we try to do is, instead of try to, want to be too deal with the matter, only when it arises, I try as much to go ahead of time to educate the people, talk to them, get them to understand that, look, these are government programs and you are the ones to implement, or carry out, the instructions given to you by government. Okay. So it's a constant thing that we need to continue to educate the people. The reason why I said that, when you're able to bring to the people to the consciousness, all right, that, look, they have to stay safe, they have to obey traffic rules, they have to abide to the guidelines and policies of government, it is only at that time that you can truly have people that will work in an orderly manner. Until that happens, you will only be going out and struggling to put people, in order for them to do what is they are meant to do. And that becomes very tedious, because how many places can you be at a time? While you're trying to hold something at the Manel Road, something is happening at Tabak Road. And you don't have all the officers, in this world to put in every spot. Remember, transportation is an aspect of business that is on the move. It's on the move. Okay, for instance, now His Excellency had given a clear instruction saying that the new Udom Emmanuel Boulevard, that commercial operators should not ply the speed lane. Kekes, should not ply the speed lane, because they will have to have drop-offs. Okay? If they ply the speed lane, most times you see them dropping people off on the speed lane. And that is very dangerous. So he gave out that instruction, and I have been on the road since last week with them, trying to give them, orientation. In fact, while I was coming here this morning, I saw most of them again going back there, plying the same route. And remember, they are on the move. And for those officers that have to get them to comply, you have to be careful, because while they are on the move, you have to be careful the way and manner you try to stop them. Because sometimes you try to stop them, they speed off. And in doing so, with the fear and with a state of mind, anything can happen. So it's a very, very sensitive operation, in getting people who are on the road moving. When you talk transport, is movement. When they are moving, getting them to comply. So we do as much as possible to see that, look, the best way out of all of this is to continue to give them an orientation and to begin to, speak to their mindset. Because if we have a change of mindset, then we have a good transport sector. If everybody is conscious of the fact that, look, when I'm in the car, I'm expected to do this, I'm expected to do that. You saw when I told them that, look, try and dress well. Yeah. The reason for asking them to dress well is not just about that. It's part of raising a consciousness that you can't be seen as a type, because you see, the way you see yourself is who you are. So when you come out in the morning, they are not dressed, they feel they are frustrated in life. Okay, let me just get into this keke and then just go ahead, you get into the street. That attitude is what they will deploy in giving service to the people. But if a keke man wakes up in the morning and goes to the bathroom, takes his bath, dresses well, and comes out and man his keke, you find out that that man will have a consciousness of the fact that, look, I'm not just a keke man, but I am an Akwa citizen that is here to do a good job.
I think
because there's dignity in labor.
State image.
Yes. So I press down. You even saw me giving them incentive, because most of the time I gather them, and when I'm speaking to them, I'll check 1 or 2 or 3 of them that I think they are well dressed, and I'll bring them out and say, "Can't you see this one? This man looks really good, and for so I am going to give you something." And I just give them an incentive just to encourage them to know that there's dignity in labor. The fact that you are a keke driver does not mean that you are not a responsible citizen of Akwa Ibom.
Okay, but still talking about the ID card issue.
Yes.
Have your ministry started issuing it out?
Oh yes,
And
as we speak, it's ongoing.
okay, it's currently in use.
Yes, it's currently in
Okay.
use. So yeah.
So that brings my next question to the issue of illegal motor parks in the states. Quite a number of places, and sometimes you would hear them say they have paid fees to the police, and so they're permitted to be there. Now, putting that side by side with having an ID card, and you know that these persons are operating in unauthorized places, what's your ministry doing to take care of that?
Well, we are aware that there are a couple of illegal motor parks here and there, and there are parks that have been gazetted in Akwa Ibom State, are known and gazetted. I have made it clear to park owners that for you to set up a park, the ministry must give you the license or, clearance for you to be able, because there are certain conditions you must meet to have a private park. A typical example, if you go to AKTC, you see how organized the place is. So it doesn't necessarily have to be as big or as huge as AKTC, but there is still some expectation and conditions that we have put in place to ensure that you can run a private park. As I speak with you, just yesterday, which was Sunday, a complaint came to me, and when I leave here, I'm setting up a committee to look into, that. Already there is a committee that is responsible for ensuring, illegal touting, but right now we have observed that people are citing illegal parks, and when we don't know those parks, then we do not know the activities that has been carried out, because you can pick somebody and end up kidnapping the person. So we need to know. And then what we are also about to also introduce is manifest.
Okay.
There's going to be a
daily transportation.
Yes, there's state transport manifest. We need to know the people coming in and out of Akwa Ibom. It's important. It is critical, because if you don't have that data, you probably might not be able to manage crime situation. Like I told you, we are working as in collaboration with other ministries. Like I said, the Ministry of Internal Security is a dependency. I'm also a dependency. So when it comes to information, we try to gather as much as we can to give them for them to be able to act on. Yeah. All right. And when it comes to enforcement, we go to them to give us the manpower to be able to enforce. So there's that cross ministerial, collaboration and activities that we're carrying out. So we are going to enforce, to strict compliance on license for you to be able to operate a park in Akwa Ibom, because it's very critical to the safety of our people who are going to board transport vehicles from one location to another.
Are there phone lines that we can call if we encounter, an unauthorized park? Because sometimes citizens must be able to contribute to the security and the transport operation of the state. So I go somewhere, I see something, I call the ministry and lay a complaint, or, try to find that is this legal. Are there phone lines like that?
Yeah, definitely. At the end of the program, I'm going to put on phone lines that will enable, people, reach out. Whatever complaints you have, is a call desk. Whatever complaints you have, please just drop it on that phone line, and then we'll be able to,
Is it one of those phone lines that is usually unattended, or
no?
We attend
to this problem. But sometimes, knowing how massive and how wide this sector is, the truth is that you can have loads of calls, and and then you have to be patient, to just keep trying and get to the man on desk. So, but it's just for you to if you can't call, please drop a message.
Absolutely.
Yes, we'll attend to all of those messages. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. For those of you listening on Planet 101.1 FM, and of course, thanks for us right now this morning, we're still having this conversation with the Honorable Commissioner for Transportation, Right Honorable Orman, Esin, second coming to the ministry and all the innovations in the Arise agenda, which of course is our focus this morning. The phone numbers are open and you can join the conversation. Feel free to ask the Honorable Commissioner a question. Of course, also raise concerns where need be. The number is 0704 541-7707. That's 0704-541-7707. Of course, for our international audience, the number is already on your screen, so feel free to ask a question. But still on security, Hong Kong, I'd like to calm down a little bit still to the issue of ID card. Yes, the ID card is already being given and people are taking. Now, is there means of quickly identifying who has which ID card? One, I'm asking a double barrel question.
Yeah.
And then in the process of having these transporters, is there a database that if, for instance, I encounter a particular driver and I have an issue with a driver or a tricycle or a minibus, is there something I can do to aid the ministry quickly get to know who owns that vehicle and then beginning the process of finding
Okay, I give you this now. Right as I speak with you now on my phone, if you have any tricycle now or minibus that has been captured under the biometrics system in our ministry, if I get that number now, in less than 1 minute, I can tell you the full history of the individual, the owner, the driver, and everything that concerns that keke in less than 1 minute. Like I said, we had put up an app that allows us to identify every keke on the road. Just a few days back, I was driving myself personally because when I'm on the road, if I'm an officer of, compliance and monitoring officer myself. So I most time do the job. And then I cited this keke, and I saw the number of the keke, and it was not, one of those numbers that we have in the biometric. And I checked on my phone, and that keke was illegal. I had to call, for backup, and he was apprehended. Secondly, while I was coming from Shelter Afrique, I saw a keke on the.
Okay, I think we have a call.
Just hold on that.
Yeah.
Good morning. Welcome to Rise and Shine.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. It's Achibon from Iruruan.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. We have a problem here. Should the ticket be collected in Iruruan alongside with one of the state? Because they are collecting daily ticket here in Iruruan to park.
Okay.
Thank you for your call.
All right. Thank you. If you're operating in the local government, in the local government, all right, you're expected to, pay their fees. That's the truth. But when you come to the capital area, you get the tickets in the capital area. So it's simple. Every local government has its own jurisdiction. Okay. So when you're operating in a local government, you're expected to respect the local government authorities and then get their fees. The only thing we can do as a ministry to intervene is if we know how much they're collecting and we think it's too much, we can call the attention of the council chairman and say, please, I think we need to, work on that, which I'd like to know. So at the end of the program, when we drop the phone lines, I think he can send a message across to me. But if you're operating in a local government, it is important for you to ensure that you pay your daily tickets in that local government.
Now, from that discussion, it looks like it's paying.
Yes,
From that discussion,
that's
it
the
looks like it's
possibility.
paying to ticket, probably the states and the local government. I would like you to clarify.
So if you traverse from Uyo to Idu,
if you're operating within that local government space, you buy the local government ticket. Okay. If you're going to now move to the state capital, all right, then definitely the men at the state capital will ask you for your ticket at the state capital. So if you want to enjoy the luxury of operating within the local government and also moving to the metropolis, then you have the option of getting the two tickets. That's just what it is.
So it's right for the person who asked
that is a personal thing to take, because if you're in the metropolis, you just have to get the ticket in the and then operate. Because sometimes people move from as far as down in City Ibum on Nsurubium and then come to you. So the local government authorities and will definitely ask you to pay the ticket. And then, of course, when you move all the way down to you. Maybe sometimes in their mind they believe that, oh, there's more population, there's more traffic in Uyo, so I'll do more business in Uyo. I mean, when you get to Uyo, you have to, also get the ticket in Uyo. But it's a thing of choice. It's not something that you will be in Uyo and then we'll ask you to pay a ticket from another local government.
We have a call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Rise and Shine.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Prince Akpanite.
You're calling from where?
I'm calling from Uyo. Uyo. Good morning, Honorable Commissioner.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. According to what you are saying, because that question the last caller just called is very, very pertinent. It said, what about those that passes by? Maybe if I'm operating in Uyo, maybe I go on a charter or I go on occasion or operation along the stretch of Uyo, EBC, going through Biom, would I stop to also pay those tickets? Would they stop to pay those tickets?
Okay,
Go ahead.
Like I said, it's a thing of choice. You heard him say, if I'm in charter.
Yes.
So it's a thing of choice. If they charter you, so yeah, exactly. And the reason why I have made sure that the tickets in the metropolis has not been increased at all from 200 is the fact that we need to be sensitive to our operators. We need to be sensitive. Like one day in my house, somebody carried a keke, picked somebody from customs to shelter a freak and to return, and told the person to pay 3,000 naira in just one. And then I called the attention of the keke operator. I said, is this what people will do to people? You complain that, oh, your tax is high, but how can you tell somebody to pay 3,000 naira to move from customs to shelter and then back? I think it's a little bit too much. So I was able to counsel him, say, look, I'm not saying you shouldn't charge, but also know that the same way you complain, it's the same way the commuters are also coming. If I tell commuters now to come online and then talk about what they go through in the hands of the operators, you're going to see a different story here, completely different story. So I want to say that, please, you are free to just do your business within your space, and but you have to respect the laws of the land.
All right,
depending
I think
on
we
where
have
you're
another
trading from.
call. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Udwa. I'm calling from Obodokar.
Udwa from Obodokar. All right, please go ahead.
I want to ask, for example, now you buy somebody from Ikorebene. You buy a daily ticket. Yes. On the way to Uyo, you see buy again. You not a 5
I've just been like that.
Let me come in.
Yes.
I think for the longest time, one of the biggest concerns of Aquabomet has been have one ticket.
Unified ticket.
That you buy at your local government and you can drive to anywhere. So is there a possibility for us to have one ticket for transporters?
Yeah,
and then maybe the local government and the state distribute or share profits from that?
It's almost saying one ticket. When you say, now, the operations of keke is what we call, it's not intercity. All right? It's not intercity. It's what they call township service.
Okay.
We need to be clear on what they should know. It's called township service. What that means is operating within a particular area. Okay, if you're in Orman, you're not expected to use keke and ride. If I get you moving keke from Orman to you, I'll impound that keke. It's not supposed to be for a long distance trip. No, it's wrong. Because even looking at the state of keke, even the balancing itself, you can't put a keke on that kind of stretch. So they are expected to be within their area of operation and operates. That's what we expect them to do. So when you are running a keke from Ikotekpene to you, I'm worried about that.
Okay.
I'm worried about that. So they talk about, we're supposed to be, because if you are in Uyo and you're operating in Uyo, you're paying the the daily ticket in Uyo. If you're in Orman, you're operating in Orman, it's almost like the same thing. But when you are now traversing, which on its own is wrong,
especially for tricycles.
It's wrong. You can't be moving that way. It's wrong. It becomes a problem.
Okay.
So one of the things that the commissioner had mentioned earlier, I just want to reiterate for our listeners on Planet Radio and Thanks You FM. For those of us who commute the roads and see where the potholes are, the commissioner had mentioned earlier that sometimes, to be fair to the authorities, they may not even know these inter-roads. And then some of this maintenance work, it's not so capital intensive. It's just for them to know and they'll send someone.
Yes.
So part of the things we are also expecting for those calling in this morning, if you know potholes that are disrupting transport services within the metropolis, please do well to also mention it when you call. We are, of course, taking note of the information you are given this morning. And the Honorable Commissioner is also going to say the phone lines that you can also call in to lay your complaints with the ministry. Honorable Commissioner, maybe you should just drop the number and then we can run it side by side.
Yes, so
okay, in a moment, you can do that. All right.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, we're talking about security, compliance, and I would like you to let us know if there is partnership with your office and those that provide e-hailing services. Because e-hailing, I hope you understand what I'm
Of course,
about.
definitely.
Yeah, e-hailing services, sometimes we look at the security, we've heard that, these people use that service and there is high
like
price.
The Uber.
Yeah.
And
is there a collaboration with your office and them?
now, let me come straight on this issue, the e-hailing services. Now, for me, like I said, I'm always on the move, trying to get to know exactly what is happening within my area of jurisdiction and within the transport sector. The people embarking on this form of service, it's a remote, remote kind of operation. Your phone, you book an Uber, you book a boat, they pick you up, and then they drop you off. Most times, they don't even have their office domiciled in different states. So you don't see them. They just carry out their operations, and just last week, I heard that they are now setting up union, across the country to be able to now, have a face to that operation.
Okay.
And we now have the Akwa Ibom, chapter of that union, and one of the members of the union, visited me on Friday and and I told him, look, I need further details to know, because if they can now have union, then we should be able to have, them hands-on, to be able to say, look, the union, you need to get these people in for them because every state has its own, guidelines, its own policies when it comes to transportation. And for Akwa Ibom State, we are intentional, we are very careful on how we manage the entire transport sector. So we are going to open up the discussions with them to bring them to the round table and look into their operations, because it's also part of what we need to know them. We need to know them. We need to know them. We need to have that. We need to have that data.
Okay.
It's important we have that data.
Call. We'll just take that. And hello, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
All right, and shine. Still Prince Akpane. Where I'm still having doubts because the charter that they have between KK and the government, that according to the Honorable Commissioner,
yes,
we are living in the cosmopolitan society. Someone from North Utidoro, now you could see now KK that operate that stretch, they will be having overcharges because North there is Ibisikbo. Idoro here is just Uyo. Do you not believe that those people will be paying two tickets in a day? So we need to plan this review, the arrangement of tickets to suit the cosmopolitan standards. That's where I'm concerned this morning. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me make a very clear statement on the cosmopolitan, structure, as it were. Uyo capital area is made of Ibesikbo, Uyo, Uran, and E2. But not necessarily the the interiors of this local, because this local government also have interiors of them. Some parts of this local government constitute the Uyo capital area.
Yes.
All right, which we call Uyo.
Yes.
You know, when Shelter Africa where I live is Ibesibo. Some part of Shelter Africa is Ibesibo, some part of it is Uyo. So depending on where you're operating from, as long as it's within the Uyo capital area, the 200 ticket on a daily basis is what you should get. If you're around the Uyo capital area. But when you carry your operations into the interiors where it is outside, like you said, it's a metropolitan city. When you carry it outside into the interiors, that is strictly, the affairs of the local government authorities. Yeah.
So, Commissioner, talking about emblem, let's go down to grassroots. We've finished with, tricycle, minibus. Let's talk about the bike. Do they also buy tickets? Do they also buy emblem? Because we've had those conversations.
Yeah, there has been quite some contention when it comes to operations of the bikes at the local government. Most bikes operate at the local government areas. And we've had interface with the local government council chairman on how to manage, the operations of the bikes in their local government. And we've had a very robust engagement. What we have done as a ministry is to understand that there is a local government authority. And like I said, the administration of His Excellency is to collaborate. The Ministry of Transport will not move into a local government, and begin to, carry out operations without that interface with the local government authority. So what we have done is we allow the local government authority appoint agents known to the Ministry of Transport at the state to be able to carry out the operations of the bike motorcycles in that local government. Although this operation, we closed it out, I think, about a month and a half or 2 months ago. And then we now brought in a union that we wanted to be the one to carry out this operation. And then there was a little disconnect between the union and some of the agents from the local government that were recommended to the ministry. And so as I speak right now, we are in the process of harmonizing that structure, so that we can have a holistic approach when it comes to the operations of motorcycles in the state.
Should we be seeing result anytime?
Definitely. Like I said, it's quite a tedious process, but definitely we are going to get results on that.
All right, Dan Chris joins us from the beautiful city of Uyo. Good morning, Dan Chris. Welcome to Rise and Shine. The Honorable Commissioner for Transport is here, live and direct. Over to you.
Thank you very much, my beautiful people of Akwa Ibom State. Good morning, studio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning, Honorable Commissioner
Good morning, sir.
for Transport. Truth be told, let's go straight to the course of the matter. Truth be told, there's a lot, for me, from my own perspective, a lot to be done with regard to transportation in Akwa Ibom beyond revenue collection, because it seems to be that the concentration of the ministry is more on revenue. This is my perspective. Revenue collection. If you look within the state, you can hardly find transportation that say AKTC, for example, apart from AKTC that goes to different areas, which seems to be organized, though it's not owned by the state. I don't know how well we are. That area is being looked at. But sometimes you see rickety vehicles conveying people on a long stretch of sometimes between Uyo and Port Harcourt, Uyo and Calabar. I think there's need for us to have more vehicles, from AKTC. I mean, if it's, I know it's not government owned, but at least government needs to look in that to find out from the honorable what is new, because the same status quo for the last 10, 12, 14 years now, same transport system. What is new that the office, the Prime Minister of Transport is bringing, in the minor era that is different from the last government that we've had with regards to transportation and easy access of people, including movements of, farm produce from local governments, to the hinterlands. What is different? What are you doing differently?
Okay. Let me take on that. Thank you very much, my brother. And let me correct the impression. When we started our conversation, we never talked about revenue. Because for me, it's just an aspect of the ministry. It's not our focus. I talked about safety. I talked about organizing the sector for proper operations. That's what I talked about. That's basically the main focus of this ministry. And then you recall when we started, I also mentioned that there are processes you engage. Even when you start a car, okay, there are processes you engage for the car to take off. My approach, to all of this is that until you have an organized sector, whatever you put on it is just going to be a mess. It's going to be a complete mess. What we have been doing in the last few months, in line with His Excellency's Arise agenda, is first, bring the people, both the operators and the commuters, to a consciousness that we are going to be introducing a whole lot of things in the transport sector. How do you receive those things? How do you receive the operation with an understanding that, look, we are doing this for the betterment of the Akwa Ibom people and to organize the transport sector. Introducing vehicles now does not change anything. If we are able to clearly demarcate and know that, look, these are the number of parks we have, gazetted by government. Government can now introduce vehicles to those locations and then route them. Because we already have an organized system. If you get vehicles now, what do you do with them? So my responsibility now, which I call the short-term approach, there's a short, mid, and long-term approach. The short-term approach is to organize the sector, because His Excellency has made it very clear that he intends to introduce, buses, even for students going to school, for civil servants, for people moving foodstuff from one location to another. Those vehicles will come. But I tell you, until you have an organized system, whatever you do is a waste. So my responsibility now, in line with His Excellency's Arise agenda, is first carry out a structured enlightenment campaign that will amount to the fact that people will realize that Akwa Ibom State is different from every other state when it comes to transportation. When you're in Akwa Ibom State, you should be conscious of the fact that you're in Akwa Ibom and there are things you can do and what you cannot do. To the operators, we should get them ready. Before one becomes a medical doctor, you go through school. They'll pass you through very rigorous processes before you can now be called a doctor to be able to, man, that, space. It's important for us to get it right in the transport sector. And the reason why I said that is not about revenue at all, but more about managing the sector and organizing the sector and enlightening people for them to know what we intend to do. Now, what do we intend to do? Is what you'd like to know. What we intend to do at the end of the day, which is our mid and long-term approach, is that, number one, we should be able to have what, for the keke, let me take it from, let me segment it now. For the keke operations in the state, we are going to provide what we call parking lots. Okay? Across the state for keke operation. Now, we intend not to have them just roam the roads anyhow. So when we're able to establish these parking lots, then we can now say that, look, we can now work with them to enhance, their operations. When it comes to minibus, we intend to provide the same thing. When it comes, you talked about food stuff. We all know that one of the major reasons why there is hike in the cost of food produce is the movement, cost of transportation. So if government can intervene in, bringing, cushioning the effect of the high cost of transportation, it definitely will result to a lower cost of food produce. So government also intends to introduce, trucks that will move goods from one point to another. Okay. Now, when it comes to the children, school, most of the people you have most times on the road are the students. Government also intends to get buses that would move students from their locations to school. You see, His Excellency has already started with the model schools that he's putting in place, providing uniforms, handbags, and school bags and school shoes for these children, and then even books for them. So it's a process. It's a process. One thing I want to assure Akwa Ibom is that Governor Moino is an amazing gentleman. His pattern of governance is something that, to me, I call him an enigma, because you don't see it coming, but it's happening. If you take into stock what Governor Moino has recorded in just 1 year, you'll know that this man is ready to serve the Akwa Ibom people. And one thing about governance is that, it's just like, when a child is sick and you want to give the child medication, no matter how the child screams and shouts, you give the right medication and the timing. So if he's going to take his medication every 3 hours, you have to wait for 3 hours to give the child the medication. The same thing with governance. People are agitating, we did this, we need this, we need it, all at the same time. But government must be focused enough to first identify the needs of the people and to come up with a clear strategy on how to meet those needs. That is devoid of the urgency that the people want those things to happen. So that's so we are very, very determined to make sure that these things come on board, but we need to take them one step at a time.
Okay, Honorable Commissioner, you said quite a number of things this morning. We are pressed for time in the moment. But one of the things I would say is we have a lot of lofty promises, as it were. We've heard you say a lot of great things. Transportation for food, transportation for children. Usually, people are satisfied when they can have a time frame to expect the delivery of these governmental promises. When do you think we can begin to see these things happening in Akwa Ibom? Then I'll add one more question in terms of food transportation. Part of the things, adding up to the hike is that every stop you find on the road, one of the security agencies is getting a token for what you're carrying. Is there a way that the transport ministry is liaising with the security outfits to stem down on that pocketing, that extortion that happens on the road? Before we bring a truck of Gary into the metropolis, you've already paid like 5,000 across every stop. It will affect the end point of how they're selling. So 2 questions: timeline for delivery of these promises and that particular issue.
Yeah, thank you. Very clearly, what I did when I came in, when I was appointed into office this time around, was that we were very clear on what we intend to achieve. The management of the Ministry of Transport, because we had, in fact, the whole full month of several meetings in trying to identify our short, mid, and long-term, goals and how we will get there. And also there were timelines to this, and we're also monitoring and evaluation. So all of this are all documented. As I speak to you, we have just about 3 months to go in terms of as much as we can to breathe down on the operators on what they should do, because His Excellency is going to start rolling out a few of these programs. All right, a few of these programs. So we are looking at, hopefully, before the close of this year, before the close of this year, Akwa Ibom transport sector would be seen differently. It's a very tedious job, I can tell you that, but I'm not here to give excuses. My job is to fix it. My job is to fix it. No matter how tedious it is, my job is to fix it. Okay? So we are hoping that before the end of this year, we should have been able to segment clearly all the programs and, enlighten our people, organize the structures. Just 2 weeks ago, I had set up about 6 different committees, okay, to handle different aspects of the programs we intend to carry on, okay, and they are working very hard. I'm getting their report at the end of next week, to be sure that, look, this is where we are going. And the next thing will now be deployment of, operational, activities, which will be getting the buses in. Like we know that in the next 10 months or there, about 11 months from now, the ferry will start running. So all of those things will start showing up, gradually. So we just want the people to please help us. Like you said, whatever you think government needs to do, please feed us with those information. We need people to work. We don't want the Ministry of Transport is not about the ministry. The transportation is not about the Ministry of Transport. Transportation is about everybody. We are all involved in it. So we need everybody to be part of it and to ensure that we get this working. So we intend to take this on before the end of the year. And then from next year, we'll begin to see visible evidences of, all that His Excellency has decided to put in place in the transport sector when it comes to providing vehicles, when it comes to setting up of all the parks and all of that.
But just to wrap up, I still like your parting shot to go to the grassroots. What's your last word to Akwa Ibomites, people coming into Akwa Ibom?
Well, I'm an old man, but anyway, so Akwan posi bi tanken po ministry do mbok afin pose government Akwa Ibom say bo ya enam mbesi wat moto mbesi wat keke mbesi wat minibus mbesi wat machine mi pe ibo mbok se government bo ya enam ya afro wo enam do aya wa Akwa Ibom government NATS sere enam yang pon ka fono no mbesi wat so yembiosi ikam idang poso ika mibit imibom bok yang bok ye throw ikpang utong ikop se government Akwa Ibom bo ya enam mai nam se government Akwa Ibom bo ya enam afrin fon mbok government me di nam dom buke transport sector iya benedi so mo kom Akwa Ibom bo ya ba se di on federal.
All right, it's been a great
conversation. I hope I tried.
Yeah. You did excellently. Been a great conversation this morning with the Honorable Commissioner for Transport in Akwa Ibom State. And I'll just reel out the information desk office number for the Ministry of Transport for those listening across our radio platforms. And the numbers to call, make suggestions, place your reports or your complaints are 0703 045 4424. I'll take that again. 0703 045 4424. That's the phone line that you can call and place your complaints. It's been a great morning. Thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Emmanuel, it's been great having the conversation with you. Francis Oyima, it is. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being here this morning. And my name is Uyai Emem. That's how we call it a wrap on Rise and Shine this morning until we return again to your screens and maybe your radio platform tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.